Welcome to the Veterans of Cedar Valley. Today we have a program giving us an update on the VeteransPark expansion that is happening in Cedar Falls this summer. And my guest today is Mark Ripplinger. And Mark, welcome to the program today.
Thanks, Sid.
And Mark is the person who's been in charge of this project and has put up with me all for the last 2 years. And so I want to welcome you to the show.
Well, thanks, Sid. We know who's in charge. But, thanks for that introduction.
You bet. Mark, a lot of questions in the community about the park. We know that we've been out recruiting and encouraging people to contribute and so on to the park. And we're getting really to the point where we can kick it off this summer. And our purpose today is to talk about where we are and where we're going to go and kind of talk about a timeline on the project. So,
sure, Sid. As you know, we've been working on this project for probably the last couple of years. It was an idea that resulted from building being torn down because of flooding. Mm-hmm. It was an old chimney, I think, shop.
Yeah.
And the idea had always been to somehow incorporate it as maybe a public park or an expansion to VeteransPark. As we started working through the process, we realized that it would be a perfect opportunity to create an expansion to VeteransPark. Everyone knows where that's at, on Waterloo Road, across from the entrance to Cedar Falls Utilities. And that park we have there today is a nice area where we have a lot of bricks in memory of veterans that served, but it's not really a very good gathering space. So when we started developing the plans for VeteransPark Phase 2, we really wanted to make an expansion to VeteransPark, the first one, but also provide an area where a lot more people could gather.
Right.
Where we're sitting right now, and again with so much help from you and the community, we're in a position now where we can start the project hopefully this spring. The first phase, of course, will be to do some dirt work, and the site we're looking at is directly south of the existing VeteransPark mm-hmm. site.
Right. In fact, you can see it on the screen at this time. The star-shaped runs for the brick. And see, you've expanded that too.
Yes.
The Army.
The existing VeteransPark is at the top of your screen, and what we're looking at is an extension a little bit roughly across that cul-de-sac area down to the parcel that the city owns at this time. Mm-hmm. The idea is, the concept is changing a little bit. We've had to slightly make it a little bit smaller due to some drainage issues. But for the most part, what you see on the screen right now is what we'll have at the end of the project. The first phase, of course, is doing dirt work and getting the site ready for development. And then, of course, with the assistance of so many community volunteers that Sid has approached and who are more than happy to lend their assistance, we have individuals who have donated money for the shelter, for the concrete. We have individuals that from home builders, McGee Construction, Cook Construction, Honeymiller Construction, Harding Honeymiller. Sorry, I want to make sure we have both those names in there.
Right.
They have agreed to build the shelter. So we are probably, I'd say, within 95% of all of our goals to start that project.
Right. And in fact, I think the last phase is basically the trees, and you're working on that at this time.
Yes, we're getting some bids from local landscape contractors and nurseries for the trees. One of the unique features of this particular site, and if you see around the perimeter on the drawing there, is some limestone seating areas. And those will be somewhat symmetrical, and with donors purchasing those and then getting their names on it. Now, Sid's done such a good job, we've already sold all those, so we're actually looking for some other areas that the public may be interested in purchasing, such as picnic tables or trees or such.
Okay. And the one of the charges you gave me when we started this project is that this is all done with donated labor and money, donated money.
Yes, the City Council is behind this project 100%. But how we've always done things in Cedar Falls, because we have so much community support, is we try to minimize the amount of tax askings. And we're able to do that, again, because there's so many people that, contribute to projects such as this.
Right.
The Paul Park was built with donations. There's so many that I could name that people have come forward to either help with construction or donated materials and money for the project.
Okay. We have a video that I think this video was one of the original videos when we built the first park. Let's run the video at this time and give people a little history of this project.
Back in the 1990s, a park was formed to commemorate the many war veterans in the Cedar Valley area. Today, that park stands as a beautiful reminder of those from that era who served their time protecting our freedom.
When Waterloo Road was reconstructed, there was an extra parcel, a remnant parcel, that became available to the city. And as the project was discussed by the Park and Recreation Commission, the City Council, it was anticipated, or it was basically agreed upon that would be a really good location to start a memorial for the veterans.
Once approved by Cedar Falls City Council, the park moved into the design phase. The focal point of the park is a 50-foot flagpole placed in a circular area paved with stained concrete and engraved bricks. At the base of the flagpole are 5 jet black granite tablets mounted in a pentagon-shaped foundation. Each tablet is etched with a seal and name of a branch of the armed forces. Radiating out of the central plaza are 5 walkways, one for each of the 5 services. Beginning at the foot of the granite base, each walkway is made of engraved bricks bearing the name of veterans. Each brick has the name of the veteran, as well as his or her branch of service and service dates engraved on them.
Most of the fundraising actually took place with brick sales. And the facility pretty much was paid for itself through people purchasing bricks.
Many bricks were sold when the park was first constructed. However, quite a few years passed before another campaign began again for selling bricks. Brick sales have helped fund the Veterans Memorial Park over the years. The final piece of the Veterans Memorial Park was its focal point, the Cedar Falls Statue of Liberty. The statue was part of Cedar Falls long before Veterans Park came into being. It was part of the project of the Boy Scouts Wapsipinicon Council and Cedar Falls District from 1949 to 1950. The idea came from a man in Missouri who was in the business of making electrical wiring for automobile parts. He made the dies for parts to the statue. The statues were then offered throughout the U.S. through the Scout organization, and many areas throughout the country purchased their own Statue of Liberty replica. The Cedar Falls Statue of Liberty was placed in the center of Overman Park for many years. However, it endured lots of vandalism and had to be constantly repaired. It also blocked the view to the band shell in Overman Park, which was added many years after the statue was originally placed there.
Well, the timing turned out to be pretty good, trying to establish a focal point for the Veterans Park and trying to determine whether we were going to keep the Statue of Liberty at Overman Park.
So the Cedar Falls Statue of Liberty found its new home at the front of Veterans Park. Veterans Memorial Park has been a beautiful place for residents to come and remember the veterans over the years. However, just in the past few years, a need became present as well as an opportunity.
I think the expansion of the park hadn't really ever been considered until about 2 or 3 years ago. There was a property down there that was removed after the flood of 2008. The city has been maintaining it ever since. It's just an open grass area, and there had been some discussions whether we wanted to turn that into a small park space to serve the neighborhood, but it's not really big enough to and very conducive for that particular use. So Sid Morris, again, big backer of veterans and the first facility, came up with the idea of an expansion to Veterans Park. And And the reason for that is because Veterans Park, as it sits now, is more of an area where you just kind of walk through. There's really no area to reflect. There's no area to get groups in there. There's no area to sit down and picnic and those sorts of things. So Phase 2 was basically put together to try to address some of those needs. If the veterans during Memorial Day wanted to have an event, the new facility would provide big open space that they could hold that event. There'll be a shelter there, so if people want to come down and take a look at the park, they can always go over and utilize the shelter to sit down and picnic and those sorts of things. So it kind of is filling a need that we could not provide at that particular facility when it was first designed.
Back in December at a Cedar Falls City Council meeting, the park expansion was approved. In this aerial view, you can see the expansion extends one of the brick paths across East 14th Court to a large lawn circle area surrounded by a ring of trees, memorial stone benches, and a gravel path. A covered outdoor picnic shelter completes the circle. The shelter is filled with tables and memorial plaques. One recommendation the council had was to have the project paid for before construction begins and without using city funds. Council members don't want the payment of this project to end up falling on taxpayers' shoulders. Phase 2 of Veterans Park construction project is roughly estimated to cost around $100,000. However, the community, especially veteran organizations so far, have been very supportive of the expansion.
Mark and I have talked about that several times, and what we want to do, we want to make sure that all the money and all the labor and all the contributions are done before we start, before we break ground. I don't want to create, neither does Mark, create an extra expense to the city for this project, because I just think that's the best way to do something. In this community, I have to say, they are so supportive of veterans. And we have one of the largest AMVET posts in the state. It is the largest AMVET post. We have an American Legion post. We have a Veterans of Foreign Wars post. We also, I'm chairman, or was chairman, of the Korean War Veterans of Iowa. And this community really supports veterans. I'm proud of that. I'm really pleased that the community feels that way.
Individuals, groups, and organizations are not only donating money, but also their time and services once construction begins. Offers have been made to supply the lumber and trees necessary for the projects. The expansion will hopefully draw more visitors to the park, as well as even host possible future events, all honoring veterans.
Well, I'm a veteran. 61 years ago, I was in Korea. I just have a very strong feeling about veterans and veteran services, and helping communities recognize their veterans, because, you know, without our veterans, we would not have the freedom that we have today. I always like to use the term, freedom is not free. And there have been a lot of people from Cedar Falls who have passed, who participated in the war. And I just think it's really important that these veterans, men and women, are recognized and represented in the community as such. Oh, that brings back a lot of memories, Mark.
Yeah, that was a nice video. Tell you, they do a great job here, don't they?
Yeah, they sure do. That young lady always does a nice job.
I agree.
Yeah, and but anyway, well, we wanted to present a history of, you know, of what we've done to date, and now we're talking about adding on and making space available, as you mentioned, and. So let us, do we have some other video that, or pictures that we'd like to show? Okay. Let's see the plan at this time, and there we are. This is what the addition is going to look like, Mark, and that is the plan. It is what we're going to try to do with it, right?
That's correct, Sid. That's an architectural firm, Envision Architecture, was kind enough to actually provide this concept for us at no charge. Brad Leeper was the individual we worked with initially over there, and then one of their assistants, Roland, put together the concepts for us. And you know, it's a very simple idea, kind of a circular design. It meets all of our needs regarding open space and the ability for people to gather. And it even can serve as kind of park space there for kids if they want to throw a frisbee or throw a football or something in the middle of that large open area there. Mm-hmm. We are extremely excited to get started with it, and really we envision it being, even though this is a concept drawing, we envision it being very much like what the viewers are seeing at home at this point.
Okay. And let's see, at the, are we planning any kind of groundbreaking or that sort of thing for it, Mark, at this time, or we're just in the talking stage?
Well, absolutely. When we get a little bit closer, we will notify the public that we'll have a groundbreaking. Mm-hmm. Right now, we need the weather to break a little bit. We anticipate once the weather cooperates and we're able to work with our contractor who has agreed to work on this project, which is Benton's
right.
Sand and Gravel, Benton's Concrete. They're going to provide some labor and materials to start
right.
working that site. So as soon as we get that information, as far as when that will occur, yeah, absolutely, we'd like to have a groundbreaking ceremony to get people oriented and excited about the project.
Right. Yes, and I want to report too that all the veterans organizations have contributed to this project. They've purchased benches and are very supportive of what we're trying to do.
In addition to the veterans and some of the other individuals that I mentioned, we've received some
right.
very gracious donations from the Rotary Club and also the Lions Club, and their funding is marked to go towards the cost of the materials for the shelter.
Right, yeah. And also another thing that's been rather popular, of course, are the limestone benches that you saw in the picture around the edge of the tree line.
Those
are pretty much all sold now.
You know, we can't keep Sid from getting out in the community and getting support, so you know, you sold those pretty quickly. Those were right. a great fundraising effort. They will be to the size that you can sit on them. Initially, I think we had 16 for sale, and what we're going to end up doing is probably put those first 16 in, and then just see how that lays out in the park. And if there is an opportunity to increase those numbers, there might be we might be able to work with more individuals who might want to donate those additional seating areas.
Yeah. In the review that we just looked at, you discussed brick sales, and we are now kicking off the brick sales again this spring. And in fact, that's one of the things I'm meeting at the Grout Museum today is on our brick sale campaign here in Cedar Falls. And so that has been very helpful to maintain the park and replace things that get damaged or that weather creates a problem for us. Those bricks are $50 a piece, and the money goes into the Civic Foundation earmarked for specifically the Veterans Park.
Yes,
and you were a part of that when we kicked it off. Why don't you review that for our listeners?
As the video stated a little bit earlier, the park itself was generally paid for with receipts from the brick sales. The bricks are $50 a piece, and it's $25 for our local company to put the names and dates and those sorts of things in there. So a profit of $25 goes into the account. And as everyone knows, cleaning needs to occur, flags have to be replaced, landscaping wears out. So that fund, again, is just another mechanism to help the park to be self-sustaining and rely, and not to rely on general obligation money or taxes from the public. So we're very interested in any money that goes into that park, specifically maintains that park, and really tries to mitigate or reduce the amount of tax money that would have to go into maintenance.
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent program. It's you know, you can tell by the looks of the park today and what we're trying to do with it. Also, in our addition, I think it was the right thing to do for us, for the city of Cedar Falls at the time.
Yep, I agree.
And so, anyway, in fact, it will be coming out in the paper this week about the brick sales for the spring, and all brick sales have to be in. Applications have to be in by May 15th.
That's the first, the first deadline. That's correct.
First deadline, and those applications for bricks can be found at the rec center.
Rec center. If you run into, if someone runs into you in the community, I know you probably got a lot of them in your car that you've been passing out. So, yeah, they're readily available. They might even be available online on the city website.
Right, and also it's the AMVETs. They have a supply, and people can pick them up there too. And also, I think the City Hall has some too.
Correct. Yep.
And what about? I want to talk a little bit about the Freedom Rock that we are working on. That is not finalized yet, but we are working on it, and we are scheduled for September, middle of September, to receive that rock and or to have it painted. And I put together a committee of leaders of some organizations to determine what they would like to see on the rock. And then we'll send that to the artist, Bubba Sorensen, and he then will make a design and send it back to us.
And Sid, for the public that might not be familiar with the Freedom Rock, can you give a little bit of a?
Right.
That's something that actually the goal is to get one of those Freedom Rocks in every of the 99 counties in Iowa.
Yeah, Bubba Sorensen started this some time ago, and what he wanted to do is to have a Freedom Rock in every county in Iowa, 99 of them. Different communities in each county were eligible to send in an application and a donation to be selected. And I'm happy to say that Cedar Falls was selected to receive the Freedom Rock for Black Hawk County. And the design of that rock will be, we will involve the whole county in what should be on the rock. And I will be meeting with them very soon on what we want to put in there.
And probably the public or the individuals watching this show could do the same thing I did when you told me about it. Go to Google, one of your search engines, and just type in Bubba Sorensen and Freedom Rock, and it will take you to several sites that shows the work that he has completed.
Right. I just talked to Mrs. Sorensen the other day, and she tells me I think there are 78 counties already have applied. And I have no doubt that there will be, all 99 counties will do it. And I think there are somewhere between 25 and 30 completed to date. So it's a very nice feature for a community.
Yep, and one of the goals, again, with Veterans Park Phase 2 is to try to identify a location in Phase 2 to place this Freedom Rock.
Right.
That hasn't been determined at this point because we kind of want to see how the park lays out
Right.
as it's constructed, but the intention is, if it is approved to be placed in the area, it will be
Right.
located in Phase 2 or
Yeah.
the proximity.
That's very good. Well, Mark, we have a couple minutes left, and I wonder, all the funding has pretty much been received at this time, and either through labor or through money, and we're ready to kick it off. And our goal is to have it completed by fall.
Yep, and since we are of course, relying on a lot of volunteer labor, it's going to be up to those individuals and their
Right.
busy schedules. But my experience with this community, they'll be ready to go as soon as we get that park ready to go.
I think so too, and in fact, I'm quite positive of that because I get questions about when you're going to start.
Yep.
When it thaws out.
Yeah, that's right.
And anyway, well, Mark, I want to thank you for being on today,
Thanks, Sid.
and I'm really enthusiastic about this project, and of course, probably I would be.
Well, I think the community is going to be very happy with it too. It's going to be a nice reflection
Right.
of what we have down there now.
Right, right, and well, thank you again, and we will try to have you back when the ribbon cutting happens.
That sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll be back with another Veterans program next week.